I wanted to be a 5'2", 110-pound girl, right? And why did I want to do that? Because I thought that the hottest person that I knew was 5'2" and 110 pounds. And she was the most attractive. She had everything. She was the most popular. She was liked. She got to play the sports. She was picked first. She was that. So I didn't really want to be 5'2", 110 pounds. I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be that girl.
Hello, Leslie. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited you're here. Thanks for being here.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. I have been looking forward to our conversation for a while. So just to dive in, I've been loving asking this question to my guests. When do you feel most beautiful? Or what makes you feel most beautiful?
That's a great question. Legitimately, when I am sweaty in workout and I'm typically down like in a plank position and I can just see my arms ripped in like the mirror. I love it. I'm just like, dang, yeah. Or I can be in different positions too with my legs because my arms and my legs are there. And for a little while, they had lost some definition due to my most likely plant-based, terrible amounts of protein diet for a hot minute. So I am very grateful for it, and I love those moments. I literally have no makeup on. I'm hot, sweaty, and I look like I would not go out in the town, but I feel great. So
I love that answer because it's so real. Like you feel strong, you feel raw. Something about that I think is powerful, right? And to feel beauty in that moment, I mean, that's badass. That's so cool.
Agreed.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, obviously that's something that you feel passionate about is nutrition, health, body wellness, and all of that. So just like a generic broad question here, but I would love to hear a bit of your story and like how you why do you feel so passionate about like overall health and wellness?
That's a good question. That's great. Why do I feel so passionate? So I'm gonna give you the shorter but detailed version of this. So
Okay.
I never knew bodies were wrong or like weight was a thing, right? I mean, yes, my dad was very physically active. My mom worked out from time to time. I'm not going to get too much into that. But when I was 14, maybe 13, maybe I could have been 13. I maybe wasn't 14 yet because you probably turned 14. No, I was probably 14 actually. And I was on the playground and two of the popular girls in my very tiny 19-person class at my Catholic school were like, how much do you weigh? And I'm like, what? They're like, how much do you weigh? I was like, I don't know. I think it was like 135 or something the last time I went to the doctor. I don't know. It wasn't like a thing I did. And they were both just like, oh yeah, we knew you were heavier than us. And I was like, what does that even mean? Like, what does that mean? I literally, I remember it. I remember on the playground. I remember the moment that I knew my body was different. But I was like, I don't even know what that means. I feel completely fine. I feel comfortable in my body. I don't really get it. But then fast forward, that was like the end of 8th grade year. Fast forward to me entering high school. And I say I was 15, but I was probably 14 because it was the beginning of high school. And my high school softball coach let me know I'd never play varsity softball because I was too fat to play the team. And she had this idea that people slap bunted to get to first base. If you're not familiar with softball, it's a terrible strategy. But the more, the first 7 people on like all of our teams were slap bunters. It was like, everybody gets it, coach. Like every team knows what you're doing with the first 5 people or whatever. But she told me that and I was like, okay then. And I knew I had an athletic type body. I knew I was never super skinny, but it really bothered me, right? But I kind of let it go. And then less than 5 days later, a girl that sat next to me in most of my classes, because alphabetical order was how we were arranged, brand new to the school, and we had a good time. I was like, hey, you want to hang out with this weekend? And she was like, oh, Leslie, I'm super sorry, but your size doesn't really hang out with us, right? And I went to the bathroom, I remember, and looking at myself in our very tiny square mirrors in our high school. It's not like they had full body mirrors in our high school. I went to an all-girl Catholic high school in St. Louis, Missouri. Totally normal, wasn't a boarding school, just a Catholic thing. And I was like, I am just hideous. And I remember going home later that day and picking myself apart. And that's where I was like, okay, I'm going to lose weight. And at that moment, I thought I'm going to change my 5'7", 100 and probably 42 to 150 pounds at this point, because I'd gained a little bit over the summer between grade school to high school because probably nerves and all the things.
And growing.
Yeah.
All that. Yeah. The body
Yes.
naturally puts on weight when you're growing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I gained a little bit of weight, and I think I was probably around 150 then. I think that sounds about right. And I never really thought of myself as bad or terrible. But at that moment, I was like, okay, I'm going to change this 5'7", 150-ish pound body into a 5'2", 110-pound body. Like that was going to happen. But in my brain, I thought it was going to. And I was doing everything possible to get myself to do this. My high school career was spent dieting, portion controlling, Weight Watchers, Atkins, high protein. That was the new thing back then, high protein, like double high protein. I was eating the same protein amount as like a guy that I knew who was literally 6'11" and way higher than me. I was eating that much protein, which was not good for my body, but I was trying it anyways, like everybody does, try on everybody else's diet for yourself. It just didn't work. So I became a dietitian, or I went to school to be a nutritionist, a dietitian, and truthfully, I didn't stop. I just remembered getting there and thinking, okay, if I'm going to be a dietitian, I have to play the part. So I gave myself a little bit of anorexia, for lack of a better word, where I didn't really eat for about 5 weeks. I ate about 200 to 300 calories. That's when I had started frequently exercising, meaning every single morning at age 15 and a half. I started getting up in the morning to work out with my mom. Yeah, I still work out almost every morning. There has to be a good reason not to, but I decided I had to do 2-a-days. So I started working out in the morning and in the evening in college, because in college, nobody woke up early. Everybody went to gym late. So that's where everybody was anyways. So I'd work out with one other person in the gym in the morning, and then I come back at night and I ate very little calories. And I effectively lost the weight back that I had gained through high school. So if I started high school at 150 pounds, I ended it higher than I was the day I gave birth to both of my 2 kids. So it was quite a difference. I want to say I was like probably 167, 170-ish when I when I graduated high school. And I lost it all in that 5-week period of time. I got myself back down to around 150 pounds. But I was confronted by my mom, and I was like, okay, I got to change this, right? Like, I can't stay where I'm at. I have to do something different, because I'm not going to one of those clinics and I'm not admitting it. I just straight up denied it, right?
Your mom confronted you and said something about your habits?
Yeah. And I just straight up denied it. I was like, not me. I don't have the thing. She only gathered it from my cousin who worked with me at Michael's at the time, Michael's Arts and Crafts store in the States. And she gathered it because we had too many shifts in a row that week, and she noticed I was eating very little for dinner and obviously the weight loss. So she kind of threw me under the bus to my mom, and I just straight up denied it. It was like, I'm not admitting to this. This is a denial, right? So it's okay, totally fine. And I'd love to say that it ended then, but once I had lost the weight and then I knew I couldn't do that anymore because I was confronted, I had to figure out something else. So I really became an excessive exerciser, which was a new clinical term, which came out about a year after I probably developed it, which was where I worked out almost 2 or 3 times a day, every day in college to get myself to stay where I was. And that really wasn't enough. I mean, I cycled on and off like most people do, like up 20, down 20, up 20, down 20, because it was either the life or the diet, or the life or the body. It was like, am I going to have the life this month or am I going to have the body? But I was really giving up my life for a diet, not for my body per se, really for the diet, right? And so I knew all of these times of cycling, like there had to be more. I'm off in the world as a dietitian. I was in the military. I worked in a government position, and I'm watching people doing similar things that I am. Really restrict Monday through Thursday, cheat days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Don't weigh yourself till Friday. Get yourself back to where you were, right? And that was really the thing, and I was doing that really well. And after a little bit of time I taught workout classes 2 or 3 times a day. I was working out about 4 hours a day. I was keeping my nutrition as little as possible. I actually was closer back to that 160 range because that's not right for your body to exercise that much and to eat that kind. And so I was unable to control then. And I just went, there has to be something different. And that's really when I went down this different road of non-conventional, traditional, or non-conventional, now more traditional ways of helping people to help their body, which was all solely based on me. I couldn't do it anymore. I had the nutrition, I had personal training, I had all this, but I couldn't get myself to where I wanted to be. So I started more non-traditional ways. I started studying, I started my own business, because I guess really 18, right after I had my daughter, I just went, okay, I'm done with it, right? Like, I have a human being, a baby girl in this world, and I don't want her to have all this. I don't want her to see me cycle. I don't want to hear me say good food, bad food. I don't want her to see me constantly weighing myself. I don't want her to see this. I want her to know that her human body is good. So it was at that moment that I just decided that I was going to like really deep dive. And I started really helping myself, really helping other people, from like, you don't have to sacrifice. You can have both when you can get your mindset, your internal peace, your nutrition exclusively made for you and wrapped in a pretty little bow. And that's really why I do this, because everybody out there is, I need to get my body to here for this, right? I need to change my health because I still want to play with my grandkids. I need to lose this weight because we're going on this cruise. I need to diet because my doctor says this about my cholesterol. But the thing is that none of those are actually the reasons why we want to or don't want to do something, right? And so that's really where the passion came, is that people a lot of times aren't actually telling you what they want, they're telling you what they don't want. And being able to help them through them saying one thing but really wanting another has really been my passion. And that's why I like to give them both.
The like saying they're telling you what they don't want. Can you give me an example?
Yeah. So a lot of times when people say, I want to lose weight, they're not actually telling me they want to lose weight. They're telling me they don't want to be fat. Okay. When people say, I want to better my health so I can be there for my grandkids, what they're telling me is that I don't want to be incapable of movement, right? So while they're saying one thing, it's not actually a thing. It's underneath. It's a belief. A lot of times, because people say like, I need to be healthier for my kids, or I need to be healthier for somebody else so I can play and do that. That's not actually you probably saying that. That's the ideals of society, that you're like, I have to be the active one playing with my kids. But believe it or not, there's lots of, moms that can't walk, can't run, can't play like that, who are really good moms and there for their kids all the time. So that's just your stipulation of you're supposed to be this type of mom, or you're playing that. So what you're really telling me is that I don't want to have the judgment of others. I don't want them to think I can't keep up with my kids because of my size, right? So you're really telling me that, not actually that you want the other thing. And that's where I really am able to hear. You might be saying, I want to lose weight, but that's not really what you want. There's something else that you want. That's your wish. Like, I wish I could lose some weight, but there's got to be something else. And if it is just for the scale, that's where, until there's a deeper emotion, the yo-yoing stays, right? If I'm only doing it for the scale, the yo-yoing stays. We wind up at the weight with complete body dysmorphia, and we don't know how to love ourselves anyways.
Yeah, you mentioned something too about how like you were trying all these things, but that you still weren't getting what you wanted. So I'm curious for you, what were those thoughts in your head with what you said you wanted and what you actually didn't want, and that whole thing during that phase of your life?
Yeah, so I wanted to be a 5'2", 110-pound girl, right? And why did I want to do that? Because I thought that the hottest person that I knew was 5'2" and 110 pounds. And she was the most attractive. She had everything. She was the most popular. She was liked. She got to play the sports. She was picked first. She was that. So I didn't really want to be 5'2", 110 pounds. I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be that girl. That's what I wanted. And so I thought the only way that I could do that was through weight loss, through being this person, which most of the time is why a lot of women want to lose weight. We want to be the person everyone else is expecting us, instead of just accepting our human body. And a lot of times after you just accept your human body, the weight loss comes faster than ever because you've accepted, instead of completely denied, pushed, killed, harmed, stunted, suppressed, to get what you actually wanted.
Yeah, totally. So for you, it seems like there were many years of the yo-yo effects, as you were sharing, but the big kind of, shift for you was when you had your daughter. Could you like dive into that a little bit more? What was that like I imagine like the mind gets in these patterns and these rhythms. And so to break outside of that had to be a challenge. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah. So probably I was probably more able to do so because I had a sudden emotional impact, right? How do we change things? Constant spaced repetition or a sudden emotional impact. So I, just like everything, like I wanted to be 5'2", 110 pounds, okay? And I wanted to have this life and I wanted to do this. And I was really good at getting certain things the right way, okay? And like I was really good at manifesting certain things. And I see some of the other things just either weren't mine, like I can't shrink to 5'2", okay? But other things were like you could have had you come at it a different way, more in alignment with yourself instead of what everybody else tells you. Grab your diet plan, grab your meal plan, do the exercise, do this, right? Normal societal ways. I went a backwards way. Why? The emotional impact. So I wanted to have a baby and I was going to do it completely natural. I'm great at pain. My pain tolerance is really high. And so I was like, I'm going to have a baby naturally. Truthfully, I think there was quite a few reasons why it did not occur, but I think the bottom line was I freaked myself out in fear that my woman parts would never be the same, from fear of a past relationship where he could identify the difference between a human body that had had a baby versus a human body that didn't. And I was so fearful of this moment, even though this had nothing to do with my husband, but fearful that that could be me. So I think that programming in the back of my head definitely went with me into the delivery room. And 100%, like when we conceived my daughter and we got a due date of like a timeline due date of she was going to be born on July 24th. I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if she came on my mom's birthday, July 15th? And I just said it. And the first ultrasound that we got, she was literally dated to July 15th because she was bigger than was assumed. And I was like, no way, she's actually going to be, like that's her due date. Now that's like 1% or 3%, or I forget, 1 or 3% of people are actually born on their due date. And I went into the labor on July 14th. And I was like, oh my God, it's happening. Like it's literally happening. And like, I was so ecstatic, right? But we got to, my contractions never got rhythmic, like they're supposed to get rhythmic. They didn't, but I had probably been in labor for most of the day, right? My husband and I did all the things. We got up, worked out, took a beach walk. I got home, I cleaned the house because I was like, this baby is coming. I know it, I'm gonna clean the house. The moment I was done and in the middle of the shower, I was like, I have so much back cramping, which I had gotten on the walk. I would have him like slow down. I'm like, you gotta slow down. I got this weird cramp in my back, right? And so he'd slow down, we'd walk a little bit further, and he'd slow down. And then I think I kind of knew then, but I didn't really know because it wasn't like labor, it was back labor. And I didn't know that was a thing, truthfully. And I just sent him, I was like, listen, we've got these 3 things, these 3 errands that have to be done. You go do that, let me clean the house, okay? So he goes and he runs the errands and I clean the house. And we had scheduled to have eggplant parmesan, which is supposedly like a way for people to go into labor. So I was like, schedule it, we're gonna do this, we're gonna get everything in action so this baby comes the next day, right? It was like, he came home and I was laying on the couch, I was like, I think I waited too long. He's like, why? I was like, I'm in so much pain I can't sleep. And they tell you to try to sleep before you go to the labor, but I'm in so much pain I can't sleep. I was like, there's just no way, because the problem with, it's not front contractions, your back never really releases. Your back just gets an overused muscle. It's not the uterus. It's not supposed to contract. And so my back was getting more and more tense. And so I was like, okay, I just got to pop the water, because if I pop the water, I'll be able to go in, right? Because I wasn't getting rhythmic contractions. We had been calling. They're like, it has to be more rhythmic. So I looked at him and I was like, okay, we can't go to a restaurant because I think people will really look at me like, this woman is in active labor while she's trying to eat eggplant parmesan, right? So I was like, we just shouldn't go. We just shouldn't go. So he was like, okay, I agree. So what are we going to do for dinner? I was like, I don't know. Let's just call the place down the street and you go pick it up. So he called the place down the street and he went to pick it up. And I got on the exercise ball. And I don't even think it took me 30 seconds, and I'm pretty sure my water broke. But I told him, I was like, I don't know if my water broke or I just peed. Like, I don't know how to tell the difference. Well, then things started to speed up, and I was like, okay, we're just going to go. We're just going to go and see if they're wrong. They'll turn us around, whatever.
Yeah.
We got into the car, and surely as I sat down in the seat of my car, I was like, and my water didn't break then. It totally just broke now. And so I was
Yeah.
like, we're in the right move. He's like, do you want to go inside and change your pants? And I was like, no, I want to go. And he was like,
Yeah.
but your pants are wet. And I was like, don't care. He's like, but you work there. And I was like, don't care. Let's go. I just want to go. Like, I was like, I just want to go. And it just, that later that night, the doctor that was there, he kept trying to get me to do different things because I was dead set against like having an epidural and all the things. He eventually talked me into one because they were seeing that her heart rate was all over the place, really dropping, that she was in distress. So eventually they thought if they gave me one, maybe I would come down to regulate her, which did not occur. And after a little bit longer, he was like, okay, this is not an emergency, but we are going to do a C-section and we'll be back in. And so they got my husband ready and all the things. And I wanted to cry so hard then just because it was so against what I wanted to do. But I was like, I can't at this moment because if I'm hysterical going in, it's going to be even worse. And I remember them getting me in and getting me ready for it. And obviously you don't feel anything, but when they take the baby out, I'm pretty sure they say, okay, baby. And I didn't hear crying. And I was really into my religion at that point, and I started praying Hail Marys for people who are Catholic. And so I just started praying, and I was like, I've gotten through 2 Hail Marys, I still don't hear crying. And it took her about 48 seconds before she breathed. She had CPR. She was born completely blue. And they wrapped her up, and they were like, here she is. We have to go take her. We have to look into all the things, right? And I just looked at my husband, and I was like, bye. Like, I will see you later. Like, I don't know what to do, like, I don't get to hold her. Don't lose her. I don't know how many other babies are in here, and you hear horror stories and stuff like that. And so my husband went with her, and, they did all the things I had to do. They couldn't get me done any faster because obviously I can't feel anything. I'm not allowed up there. I have to be taken care of too. And I just called my mom hysterically crying. And I think that was, at this point, it was like 5 a.m. my time. So it was 4 a.m. St. Louis time. And I just called her hysterically crying. And she was on the phone on her birthday listening to me sob for like 2.5 hours because they did wind up with the same birthday, which was wonderful.
Oh, that's special.
But, yeah, I know. I was like, it was so great. But that sudden emotional impact, I think, really changed the way that I approached everything in life because my day could have gone completely differently that day, right? And I'm so grateful that it didn't. I'm so grateful that she is, 6 years old, almost 7, and still completely thriving as a human and had literally nothing wrong with her at that moment. But I think that is what really changed my path because I thought I'm so overly concerned about my own body, right? And it didn't end. I mean, I remember maybe 2 months after she was born, going home and she got baptized. And I was out with a friend and I was like, I look terrible postpartum. She's like, Leslie, give yourself a break. You just had a baby 2 months ago. I was like, okay, that's everybody's way of not actually really telling me I look bad because I just had a baby. And so I was like, okay, I have 2 ways to go with this. And so I really deep dive into like, what is it? Why does it matter what everybody else thinks about my human body if I'm comfortable in it? And that's when I really just started to take it from a different angle because of my daughter. And it was easier for me because of the emotional piece. When I went into the C-section and the moment I came out, I was 2 totally different people. And I think that action occurred so I could get to where I am today, for sure. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. I think it's powerful for you to share about something that was obviously included some trauma. It's, you didn't get the birth plan that you were expecting. There was a scary moment of whether your daughter was okay or not and all of that, but also for you to look back on it now and flip it in this perspective of like, if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be who I am. And so this was this like really difficult moment that was a catalyst for me to change my life. And I think that's powerful for like a lot of people that maybe are in the midst of something that's really rough and sucks and is draining them. But to hear someone say, okay, I'm past that now, and I can look back and be really actually grateful for that experience.
Yeah, 100%. I wouldn't change it for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like, I mean, even I'm not a mom, but I'm an aunt, and there's a lot of things that I have shifted how I live my life because I'll think about, oh my gosh, if my niece talked about herself the way I'm talking about myself right now, like that would break my heart. I don't want her to think like that or to feel this way, right? And so I feel like even more so the power of a mom's love, like that must have weighed on you even more. Like I want my daughter to feel proud of her body and feel comfortable in her own skin. And so I'm sure this, like, she's going to feel so much gratefulness for you as well and the way that you decided to shift your life for her, essentially, and for yourself, though.
Yeah, I agree. I certainly hope so. I mean, I can see some of the differences just in like other things that she does. Maybe not around her body, but she definitely is not afraid to be her authentic little self for sure. So I'm like, okay, let's do it. You feel good? Yeah. This makes you feel great in your body? Heck yeah. Okay, let's go. Let's go run errands. Let's go to school.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
go do
Are you
whatever.
talking about, like, what outfits she picks for herself and stuff?
Yeah, outfits and for the longest time, I think from like age 2 to 3, she wore a crown. Maybe even 4. She wore a crown every single day. Like
I
I kid
love
you
that.
not. It was every day, everywhere we went, there was always a crown on her head. There was not one day that
Yes.
she did not have it. Until she had to go like to a real school that wouldn't let you wear a crown, she wore a
Yeah.
crown every day.
Oh my God, that's so awesome though. But that's what I think is so great about kids that age too, is like they find something that they feel good in or like a show they love or whatever, and they're just like, this is me now. That's it. And it's like fully every single day, all the time. And the crown, like queen, love that for her.
Yeah, yeah, totally,
I'm sure she's
totally.
gonna love looking back at pictures of herself in that age where every single picture she's wearing a crown.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, she
Yeah.
remembers. I mean, we were in Spain by then, so she was always like, it was like princesa, una princesa, and she was like,
Oh,
what is
so
it? I was like,
cute.
it's princess in Spanish, Leslie. Oh, okay, I'm a princesa, princesa, princesa. So wherever
That's
she'd
so
go.
cute. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Now that you brought up Spain, I love that you did because that's something I wanted to talk about a little bit more too. Because I know you're from the States, but you and your family live in Spain now. So I'm curious, like, how did that transition happen? How did you end up deciding to move over there? And also, like, do your kids speak Spanish? What is it like to kind of combine the cultures?
Yeah, so we are temporarily here for his job.
Okay.
I was dead set against it. I'm gonna be honest. I was like, I don't want to live in Spain. I don't want to go to a different country. Like our kids are too little. We moved when they were 2 and 4. I'm pretty sure 2 and 4. Yeah, they were 2 and 4. So they were little. I was like, we shouldn't be moving with them this little. They're not going to remember any of it. They're not going to know anything. And so I was really upset. But I mean, we were going. He got it, and we were going. The transition, honestly, my son and I both had a fallout. My daughter never had a fallout. But January of 2023, we got here at the end of December of 2022. I definitely had this moment of like, okay, this is just weird. I call it radio silence. Legitimately, from 7 a.m. until like 11 a.m. Spain time, I don't even get so much as a spam email.
Wow.
Yeah, dead
Crazy.
silent. No text, everybody's sleeping. No phone calls, everybody's sleeping. No robocalls, everybody's sleeping. I had a few clients that were in different time zones that I would get things from, but not normally. And back then, I wasn't established here, so I didn't have friends here yet that would text me. I wasn't in my Spanish class. I didn't have the kids' school. Now there's no radio silence, not even during the night, because it's like what would be my night, I'm getting text messages from people here. And then when is my night, I'm getting text messages from people there, right? So there is no radio silence anymore. I kind of miss it. But I think I had a fallout there of just like, okay, this is just kind of it, you know? But I loved it eventually. We were stuck in a hotel for the first month. So that was also part of it, for
That's
sure.
rough.
Yeah, I could literally put my arms straight out and I wouldn't even have to go that far. My daughter's body would be like right here in the other bed.
Oh my
So,
gosh, yeah.
yeah, it was like we were right on top of each other sleeping. So it's okay. we all survived and lived to tell the tale. But yeah, I think my sons came when he went to a Spanish daycare for like a few weeks just to give us a leg up to potentially get a better school for them, which we chose a different school anyways. But he went for a few weeks there, and I think that was a hard time on him. And then when he went to a traditional school versus the Montessori that they're in now. But my daughter never had anything. She met her best friend when we first got here, like 5 days after we moved in. She's gone now in another country, so we're up for grabs for another family to come, but that's okay. But yeah, we all take Spanish class. Well, I take Spanish classes. My husband does not. And my 2 children go to school in Spain. They go to a Spanish school. Last year, everything was in Spanish. This year, they go to a bilingual Montessori. So there is some English and Spanish. But if you ask them if they speak Spanish, they'll say no. If you just speak to them in Spanish, they'll speak back to you in Spanish.
Okay, got it. So they can get by. They understand a good amount and all of that.
They should be translating for me, but they claim they don't know it, which can be true. So like you have to think about it in terms of like a 0 to 1 year old knows what you're saying but can't repeat it. A 1 to 2 year old knows what you're saying and can repeat very small things. A 2 to 3 year old, you start to really form the sentences and stuff like that. So in knowing that they got here at 2 and 4 and now they're 4 and 6, they really just have to go 1 more year to be able to have the click of like, oh, this person is saying this, so I know they're saying this, right? That's the difference. And that's where like people are like, well, they should just be fully bilingual. It doesn't exactly work like that. Once you have 2 languages down, then a 3rd one and a 4th one and a 5th one can come more rapidly. But I'm not looking to have my kids speak 5 or 6 languages. If they know Spanish and English, that's good with me. That's better than I know, you know. I can get by in Spanish, but when they start to talk really fast, I'm like, no.
Oh, same with me. Yeah.
No.
That it's been a challenge for me. Like I had these expectations that I was going to learn Spanish so quickly living in Peru. I was like, well, you're surrounded by it. Like, you know, it's going to come. And no, I suck. I feel like I can get by again. Like I can grocery shop. I can ask for basic things. I can have very like, you know, simple conversations, you know, where are you from? How you doing? Like, you know, things like that. But as soon as someone starts speaking fast, I'm like, okay, I got 5 of those 30 words you just said. You know, it's like, I might kind of know the vibe of your conversation right now, but I don't know exactly what you just said to me. And yeah, it's a challenge. It's not easy. And I'm not taking classes either. Do you feel like the classes have been really helpful to you?
Oh, totally. So I do acupuncture here, and the woman that I do acupuncture with only speaks Spanish. And the other day, I was like, this is what I think we should do. Well, we started with her talking to me, and it was like 15 to 20 minutes in straight Spanish. And I was like, oh my God, I understand. I get it. I get what she's saying.
Oh, yeah.
I understand what she's saying. I was like, okay, wait, listen, because you're not that good. You can't just have it in the background and catch up in the conversation. Yeah. So I understood everything. And I just remember like once I laid down on the acupuncture table, I was like, I understood all that. Like, I mean, yes, sometimes she uses her hands, so I can gather some things, like if a word isn't there. But like, I wouldn't have, like, in the beginning, I would have just looked at her and been, you might as well be speaking Japanese to me.
Yeah.
So I was really impressed by myself. So yes, I do believe that classes help. But I also have a Spanish friend here. I've done my due diligence of making people in this world and this country as well that only speak Spanish. And she wanted to learn English and I wanted to do better in Spanish. So we meet once a week and kind of speak our Spanglish. Sometimes we have to use Google Translate and figure some things out. Other times, like one of us can figure out what the other person's saying. And then we say it in their language. And it's like, yeah, okay. And then this is how you would say it in my language, right?
Okay, cool.
And so we're not like English teachers and she's not a Spanish teacher. It's just how we would say it, which is what both of us want to know, is like how you would casually say something, you know? Like here, they don't say ¿Cómo estás? They say ¿Qué tal? But they don't really say ¿Qué tal? They go, they basically say okay, like hola que, like hola que, which is like, hey, what's up,
okay.
You know? It would be like in America, it'd be like, hey, what's up, you know? And so that's what I taught her, you know, to an American. I mean, to abbreviate, you know, hola, que tal, you'd be saying something like, hey, what's up? You know, or hey, sup, or what's
Something they
stop,
say here a lot too is they say todo bien? Todo bien?
Yeah, todo bien. Yeah, everything okay.
Yeah, it's just all good, all good.
Yeah,
Everything
yeah.
good, everything okay. And that was something that was different than I was living in Nicaragua before. And Spanish is very different there. Like they don't say the S's on any words. It's all cut off. And so there's just like, or they say like vos, which I think you say in Spain, say vos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Vosotros, yeah.
there's no vos in Peru. They don't say that. And so things that it's just like interesting how Spanish changes a lot, which I think English is also like that too, right? Even
Yeah.
parts of the States, you speak different types of English, but it's a challenge, I feel like, as trying to learn and trying to pick that up. And then sometimes some of the locals will be like, okay, if you say like, speak more like this, people are going to think that you're more of a local. And so, like even adding like ito to the ends of words. So like
Ito, yeah, that
asking,
ito.
yeah. So like
Gatito.
asking for like a cup of water or something, they'll say vasito. And so it's
Yeah.
like a little glass in, which I don't know why, but it's like kind of a thing that a lot of people do, or like perito instead of perro, or like
Yeah.
that. And I feel like it's kind of fun actually. Like, oh, you're calling
Oh, yeah, I
everything
love the
little.
itos.
They're all like little things. That's so cute.
I love the Itos. Itos are cool.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
It's fun though,
Itos.
and it's a fun challenge. And I'm hoping I'm going to be here for another like 2 years. So I just want to hopefully be a lot better by the time I end up leaving
Yeah.
the country. Yeah.
I totally get it. Everything here is like, it's not gracias, it's gracia. And like
Uh-huh.
a lot of THs, like everything goes to TH instead of. So it's like sometimes you're just like, did you even enunciate anything? It just sounded like one word. There was no, it just was one word. It was like one giant.
Yeah. Did you even
got
breathe at all?
I didn't hear punctuations in your sentence, okay?
Yes,
Like it was just
yeah.
like, okay. Ballet.
Yeah.
No. A lot of times when you don't know, you're just like, nope. I got nothing. I just
Yeah.
need you to know. Whatever you think I'm agreeing to, I'm out. So
Yeah. I know. I feel like I say see a lot. I'm like, see, because it's like I might understand what they're saying, but not really know how to respond. And so I'm just like, see. And then I went back to the States and I was visiting for a couple weeks. And like, as I was in the grocery store the first day, and I just noticed myself going, see. And I was like, okay, girl, take it back for a second. Like,
Yeah.
they just are looking at this obviously American chick saying, yes in Spanish in America. Like anyways, I had a good chuckle at myself.
yeah, I get it. Yeah, and here in Spain, if somebody goes see, that's their way to dismiss you and be like, you're done.
Oh, really? Okay.
Ballet is their
Okay.
like, okay, ballet.
Oh, really? I haven't
ballet.
heard that at all
That means
here.
they're accepting you. Once they're done with what they have to say, like if somebody's annoyed with you or like you're annoyed with your husband or something, you're just like, see. That just means like, get out of it. Like, get away. I'm done.
Okay,
I'm
like
done, I'm
yes. Okay, I
Yeah.
can get that. Yeah. Okay. I guess it's important to learn those cultural things, because then if I was doing that just trying to conversationally get by, and I'm doing that in Spanish, they're like, "Why is this girl dismissing me?" That's interesting.
Yeah, it's been a hard thing for me to transition to ballet instead of yes, because it's not formal. It's like okay. Because like as a kid, like if you're just like okay mom, is that really it, or did you hear me? Yes, mom. So
Yeah,
it's like
uh-huh.
like you've got that more formal, and here they want you to be ballet. But I mean, they don't like it's not even like de nada is not even really you're welcome. It's not really what de nada means.
Yeah, it's
know?
like it's nothing. It's
Yeah.
really what it means, right? Of nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, it's been so I feel like my goal is hopefully to learn Spanish well enough that I can, when I do have kids, like teach them some basics and then maybe put them in Spanish classes to learn fully. But I feel like what a gift to give your kids, even though it wasn't necessarily maybe your favorite choice. I feel like that's such a gift
love
for
it
them to
now.
get to learn it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wasn't first choice, but I love it now. And yes, I totally agree. Like I want them to stay so it can be solidified. So they just can't
Yeah.
forget it, and then just make them utilize it weekly by talking to other people in Spanish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. How long do you think you're going to be in Spain for?
I don't know. We find out soon. So
Okay.
Yeah.
So it could be a good chunk of time more, or it could be wrapping up anytime, really.
Correct. It could be sometime this year that we leave, or it could be in like 3, 4, 5 years we leave. So
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's
quite a difference.
crazy.
Yeah,
Living in the like unknown of that whole thing.
it's fun.
Yeah, that's cool. I feel like we got to talk a little bit about digestion and your whole story with that, but I would love for you to kind of, because I know we talked about in our original call that we did, getting to know each other about digestion codes. And I know you touched on that a little bit, but I would love to hear a little bit more from you about kind of what it looks like when you work with your clients, like what are digestion codes, and just, yeah, basically get into your whole superpower.
Yeah, so digestion codes is really, I use something called the MIND method. And the first piece that I work with everybody on typically is mindset. And that is, what are your rules around nutrition? Were they rules you got through diets, through friends, through your parents, through utero? Where did these diet rules come from and what rules are you living by? That's the mindset piece, because this is the piece that's blocking us, right? Okay. Where did we determine that 5'2", 110 pounds is what we need to look like? Where did we determine that we have to be a mom that's smaller in order to play with our kids? Okay. And so things like that, like where are those things playing out, is key number one. So that's the M of the MIND method. The I is internal. You actually have a blueprint that was made for you when you were born, but we're talked out of our blueprint. We're told we can't eat now, we can't drink now, we can't go to the bathroom, we must wait. We stop trusting our bodies. The doctors have the answers. Mom knows what needs to go on my plate. I'm not allowed to refuse this food. And our internal process, which tells us like, we should be eating this way. That's not a food I want. This is a food I want. I like this. I don't like this, right? This internal process is very important for us. Okay. And we have a blueprint, like a DNA, that tells us what to eat. Okay. I utilize this through things like human design, why am I thinking, I'm saying ancestry, but that's not what I mean. What do you call that right now? Where you like your horoscope, astrology. It's like it's another key word. Astrology, through your astrology, I do things here as well as somatic work, like what's stored in your body. Like, was there a response that when somebody called you fat as a kid that you really wanted to punch them and you didn't get to? And so now that's trapped in your body and you have anger around it. And so because you have anger around it, you can't actually release your weight. And things like that. So somatic work is really here. What's your body doing? Because these two key pieces are potentially shutting down your vagus nerve. They're keeping you from being able to have a metabolism. Vagus nerve regulates your metabolism in your gut, and your body talks to your brain 80%, and your brain really only talks back about 20%. So your body's controlling. So if you think, okay, I'm going to diet myself right, and you're only changing up here without understanding what's happening down here, this is why so many people don't get the results they want year after year, right? So that's a piece that's really included in the I. Nutrition is 100% made for you. What does your body need and how does your body need it? Each human body is a little bit different, okay? Maybe you don't have to be completely lactose intolerant. Maybe there's just certain milks you can't drink. Maybe there's certain cheeses you can't eat. It can open up a wide range of variety, especially because you could have just been told, oh, we are lactose intolerant. But you might not actually be lactose intolerant. But if you try to add back in lactose, typically for the first 21 days, if you haven't had lactose in over a month, you will have some sort of lactose intolerant symptoms because your body's not used to expressing the lactase enzyme. So there's a lot of different things that can be happening. So that's why I love having the dietitian piece, because I know and understand the chemical piece of nutrition to add in here. And then the last thing is the E, which is exclusively made for you, because you really need to have all the pieces made for you. You don't go over to your friend's house and you're like, hey, you know, I think that you wore this really cool pair of underwear yesterday. Can I try them on? Right? It doesn't make any sense. Okay, we don't try on our friend's underwear. We don't try on our friend's dirty underwear. But yet, for some odd reason, we will try on their diet, which is more important. Exactly. It's like inside. It's not external, you know? We don't even share mascara and deodorant and things like that, right? There are some things that are just like, you don't share these things. So why are we picking up somebody else's diet off the table? It just doesn't make any sense. But that's what we were taught. So that's what Digestion Codes really does. And through this, you get to eliminate the diet and really just have the life and the body and all you want without the sacrifice anymore.
That's so cool. I think that's amazing to have such a individualized experience, because I really feel that that's so true. Like, some people are like, yes, being, you know, I see the carnivore diet, like eating a lot of meat is like really helpful for them, or living and eating dairy is totally fine and all that, or some people it's not totally fine. And I feel like for me, I've never understood that, like saying, okay, I've done this diet, it works so good for me, you should do it. I'm like, I don't know. Well, how do you know? What if it sucks for me? So
Exactly.
I think that that's like really great to say, okay, like there's such an individual system that you can pick that can work for your body, make you feel really good. And I'm sure sometimes it takes a little experimentation, but figuring that out, I feel like that's like the winning formula.
Agreed.
So cool. I love that. Awesome. Well, this has been such a cool conversation. Before I dive into the rapid fire questions with you, since we're already talking about what you do and your digestion codes and all that good stuff, like how can people connect with you if they want to work with you and all of that stuff? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on any platform as Leslie Urbis. Technically, Facebook has my maiden name in there too, but I'm getting ready to take it out, so hopefully it'll be there. And you can also, I will gladly share the link with you through a somatic work that I do with people that will help you uncover kind of what's blocking you and your nutrition and health goals right now. So I'd love to share that. It's just a walkthrough process of that. And then if people do that, then they can, subscribe to get emails, or you can join my Facebook group, which is called the No Diet Weight Loss. I don't remember what the name of my Facebook group is. Isn't that funny? I just changed the name of it because I was like, I don't like this. I only named it this because I had a coach that told me I needed to use this as a name. So it is called No Diets Ever for Women Only, because
Okay.
I prefer to just hang out with women. I think there's a
Same.
better vibe there. So yeah, No Diets Ever
Yeah.
for Women Only. At the current moment,
Okay.
that's the name of the Facebook group. Who knows?
Okay,
It could always
cool.
change again, but that's it.
Awesome. I'll get those links from you too. And so I'll have that in the description. So anybody that wants to check that out, the somatic therapy thing sounds awesome. So yeah, anyone that wants to connect with you can find all that down there. But do you mind if I wrap up our episode with rapid fire
do it.
questions?
I'm
Okay.
excited.
First question for you is, if you could pick a superpower, what would it be?
Does it have to be like a superhero power like that exists?
Nah, girl,
or I
whatever
can
you
make it up?
want. People
Okay,
make up
so-
whatever they want.
So my superhero power would be, that like Will Smith like blinky light thing from the Men in Black?
Yes. Uh-huh.
I'd want to have that, but for myself, to be able to be like, oh, that belief's deleted. Instead, insert this. That's what I want. Superhero
Oh,
power
hell
where I
yeah.
can literally be like, okay, clear mechanism, delete that belief, insert. Okay, next thing, That's what I
Yes.
want my superhero power. to
Yeah,
not have to
power,
be
like
oh, now I know this belief and I've got to go through the actions of constant spaced repetition. When I first heard that, I
Yes.
was like, oh, that sounds terrible. It sounds so long. I want to just make it better. And there are some really cool systems that help you do it, but I'd love to just have the superpower of like, okay,
Oh, yeah.
take out, insert, take out,
the
insert.
power
And-
over your brain. That's insane.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I want. Yeah.
That's so cool. I haven't heard anyone say an answer or anything like that. So that's totally rad. That's a cool
Yeah.
answer.
Well, thank you.
Okay, next question for you. What is a go-to comfort meal for you?
Ooh, something I can't really get here. It's always chips and queso from a Mexican restaurant, but like queso, like Tex-Mex queso. Like here you say queso and you get cheese on a plate. It just doesn't, it's not the
Yeah.
same thing. Okay. And like, it's like, oh, this is sad. But that and a delicious margarita, I'm going to say it because
Oh, yeah.
margaritas are my mascot. They are a mascot to my brand. I just feel like they really symbolize, whether it's a mocktail or not, there's something about the glass that makes it. Have water in a wine glass. Have a frou-frou drink in a margarita glass. Who cares? Put salt on the rim. Live a little dangerously. It's okay.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. I like that both are associated with like Mexican or Tex-Mex. That's honestly the food I miss the most living down here too. Like, I miss like a good burrito or tacos or like, yeah, but can't get that here. I mean, once in a while I'll find a place that sells tacos, but it ain't the same.
I get it.
It's not the same. Okay. Next question for you. What are 3 books, movies, or podcasts that you can recommend to the listeners?
Yeah, I was like, when you told me this, I was like, oh, I've got too many to say because my life is like ever changing. So I'm going to say the oldest one that I would always say for people to watch is the movie Practical Magic. I don't know why, but I think that
Yes.
movie is why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I connect to that movie.
No way.
I
Yeah.
love that movie. I'm in a moon circle. There's something about it. The witchiness, everything. That
It's a
movie.
classic. Yeah.
Love practical magic. So that is a movie I would recommend. A book I would recommend is something that I'm doing right now with a friend. It's on my desk. It's The Course in Miracles. And it's got a 365-day workbook.
Cool.
It is, so I was Catholic my whole life, right? And I had a coach that told me to read Conversations with God, so I could then determine religion on my own. And after doing that, I just went from going to church every Sunday and being the best Catholic ever, according to everybody else. And I was like, I am sitting in this pew based on everybody else's thing. And I refuse to come back consistently until I desire to be here, until it's my terms and not the terms that I was given of Catholicism. And I've really just veered more towards like universe or other or spirit or things like that. And this book talks in God, but not in God like Catholic God or Christian God or any kind of God. It's like the universal God. And it's really eye-opening. We're on day 75, which is really amazing. My friend and I absolutely love it.
What's it called again? Can you show it?
Yeah, I can. It's called The Course
If you
in
have it right
Miracles.
next to you.
Yep.
Okay, of course.
You want to,
Okay,
yep,
cool.
you want to have the big one. So this is like got a preface, a text, workbook for students, because it's in the back that like you actually have like the lessons. That is like lesson for each day, and you can start it whenever you want to. Like you could start it tomorrow if you got the book.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's a lesson every day for 365 days. So there is that one. That one is
cool.
it. And I want to say a podcast, but I really am so particular of telling people podcasts. So I'm going to say the other book that has really, I think, changed my adult life and I guess I'll just go with that one. I will go ahead and say Rich Dad, Poor Dad would be the book that I would suggest. It's a really good book. Okay, fine. I'm almost done, okay?
Guest appearance.
You're so.
Hi.
Yeah, okay, can you be quiet for just a second while I finish? Okay, quiet just for a second. They're telling me how cold they are. They're so funny. They just want to, they're like, oh, you're warm. I'm warm because I'm doing something I want to do. Anyways, that's how it works in my world. I know when I'm cold
love
that
it.
I'm not, But
Yeah.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it talks about, in my opinion, I've done so much work on myself, right? So since that moment with my daughter, it was really the pinnacle moment, and I've done so much in awareness and really helping people, somatic work, nervous system work. And something that's always been difficult for me is finances, right? Finances are this like bull in the room that I don't want to pay attention to because they make me the most nervous. And after reading his book, I really do believe that like my life changed again. And I'm actually diving into all of his books and other things, not just him, because I do think that for this, like just like he says, go and explore and meet other people. But I can tell that my life has changed. He actually has a board game called Cash Flow for Kids, and I think the other one's just Cash Flow, that teaches kids, adults, how to actually understand their finances from a game perspective. And I've never heard of that before.
That's so fun.
And I've played the kid game with my kids now 4 times, and I can see, I'm like, wow, this is what I missed. And I'm so glad that my kids have learned this at 4 and 6. And so, I mean, if I know you didn't say games, but if you don't want to read the book, I would tell you to just Google Rich Dad, Poor Dad, game. And I think there's even an online version for you to try. So
Oh, cool. That's so awesome. I love it. I love that we got a bonus one. Okay, cool. And again, I will have that listed down below, so if anyone wants to check those out. But final question for you before I let you go is, why do you feel it's important to be brave?
brave is persistence to me. And Think and Grow Rich, there is a whole chapter on persistence, and he says he doesn't know why. Why did Henry Ford create what he created when he was the dumbest person in his school? And he was actually put to trial for how dumb he was because they wanted to prove him he was super dumb. Like, that's not a joke. Like, it's crazy, right? And Thomas Edison, who also had no education and who made all of these things, what made them keep going? Persistence. And that's brave to me. The biggest people in the world who are most brave is persistence. And so I am brave because I don't want to give up, right? I loved it in the book, and I think it was Rich Dad Poor Dad, but it could have been, I've listened to 4 now. He was going to give up after the guy who wrote the book, Robert Kiyosaki. He lost his first business. He was millions in debt, and he was restarting his business, and he was having some hardships, and his rich dad just kind of said, okay, so you want to quit? You could quit tomorrow. You could quit next week. Why do you want to quit now? And it just kind of was like, right, why do I want to quit now? I don't really want to quit. I could quit at any time. Quitting is always possible, but I don't want to quit now, right? And so that's where I find brave is. It's the persistence to keep going. When everyone else around you is like, absolutely not, but your internal guide is like, do it, do it, do it, right? Like your authentic self is screaming, you're going to keep going. You're going to walk through the door that everybody told you shouldn't walk through, and you're going to go be yourself because you're persistent and you just want to be you.
I love that. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for sharing your story and being open in this whole episode today. This has been such a cool conversation. But yeah, I just want to, before I let you go, just say thank you for everything you're doing in the world and so much love to you. And yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. Same to you.
Thank you so much for listening and watching this episode of the Brave Bitches podcast. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, share, review, all that good stuff. Also follow me on Instagram at Hannah Soul Marie or at Brave Bitches without the I for some behind the scenes look and clips from the episode. Again, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.